to Jollyville Radio. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, listeners. I had caps lock on. Hello. You're tuned in to Jollyville Radio here on Jollyville Radio KJVR. I'm sportscaster Carey Gardiner, broadcasting live from the Purple Street Studios in beautiful downtown Jollyville. Can you believe it, Jollyville? We are 1 week away from our 1-year anniversary. We'll be taking some time off afterwards, but we have a couple more episodes to share with you first. Today we present to you a segment called The Joy of Music Making, followed by an interview with the creator of Winking Cattails on Community Beat. After that, we'll be sharing a special deleted scene from Season 1. We'll be right back after these short messages.
Radiant, glossy, flawless. Introducing the all-new line of luxury nail polish from the designer Robert Cheerful. Nail polish.
Hello, this is Pat Haines-Ainsworth from Winking Cattails, and you're listening to Jollyville Radio on KJVR. Yay!
Why, hello there, and thank you for tuning in to the joy of music making on Jollyville Radio KJVR. Today we're going to be making an instrumental musical track, and I'm going to go slow so that you can follow along at home. Let's start by meeting our drum set. We're going to hear the kick drum, the hi-hat, and snare, and we're also going to hear the tom-toms and the cymbals. Why don't we start with quarter notes on the bass drum, and we can add eighth notes on the hi-hat and a crash cymbal on beat 1. And of course we're going to need a snare drum on 2 and 4. Well, now why don't we add some syncopation on the toms? Now why don't we change that pesky cymbal and make it more interesting? You like that? And now that we know how the drummer works, let's just really let him rip. Now we want to make sure that our song has a strong bottom, so we're going to put some bass guitar in there too. Well, I think that's starting to sound pretty funky, my friends. Remember, there's no such thing as a wrong note, just happy little accidentals. Now that we've had a little break, why don't we go back to where we started? Now why don't we try changing it up a little?
KJVR, Julia Stonewash,
Pizza rice casserole.
Julia Stonewash, KJVR.
That's exactly what it is, Spoop.
Jollyville Radio.
Jollyville Radio.
You're listening to Jollyville Radio. That hot, gooey cheese.
Listen to Jollyville.
KJVR.
I'm Amanda Keaton.
Sportscaster Carey Gardiner.
Peggy Bright.
Just Anderson.
Stubby Mike.
Paul Frederickson.
Hey, Paul. I want to get swole.
Well, ski.
Hello.
Robert Cheerful.
For mayor of Jollyville.
Julia Stonewash, Jollyville Radio. Julia KJVR.
Why don't we bring it down a little bit to a close? Well, thank you so much for tuning in to the Joy of Music here on Jollyville Radio, KJVR. I hope you'll come again next time. Thanks, and God bless. Bye-bye.
Three, two, one. Broadcasting live from the Jollyville Radio Purple Street Studio. Overture, Dim the Lights. This is Jollyville Community Beat with UncleASAR, turning the spotlight on good people doing great work in the real world. From the greater Seattle area, the Pacific Northwest, Patricia Haines-Ainsworth is our guest, writer, publisher, actor, director, and I just found out she used to tap dance. King Cat Books, creating original plays and adaptations of fairy tales for young audiences. Patricia Haines-Ainsworth, welcome to Community Beat.
Thank you so much, Azar.
Patricia, you wear a ton of hats at Winking Cat Books, and I guess we could say you're a real-life cat in a hat, or better, Pat in many hats.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Many heads. Yeah.
We love bad puns here at Community Beat, and I do my best to keep them coming.
Okay. You're as bad as my youngest daughter.
I'm in good company, right?
You are in very good company. Yes.
Patricia, tell us about Winking Cat Books and the audience you create these incredible plays for.
Well, I still do have a touring company that our goal was, it's a nonprofit, to take live theater for kids to rural areas where they don't get a chance to see live theater, or maybe areas that aren't economically able to afford having a live theater company come in. I've been doing that for 20 some years. And just this last 2 years, I decided to put some of the plays I've written for that touring company and make them into a podcast, do them like a radio show. And so our goal is to take kids, and especially during the pandemic, who are stuck at home and not able to have fun, not be able to go see shows, to really bring them in and entertain them, and with music and fun stories. I like to focus on stories that maybe they haven't ever heard of before. You know, they're popular stories, Hans Christian Andersen and popular writers, but they're not like Cinderella, or they're not, The Little Mermaid. They're other stories. I hate to see them go by the by because Disney didn't make a movie out of them, So we take tales from all over the world, and we go into a studio, record them with our actors as a radio play, a musical radio play, and put them out there. And right now, I guess we're being listened to in every continent except Antarctica.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, you mentioned working with all these actors and musicians, and I know you work with a music composer, and actually Michael Crosa, the creator of Jollyville, is our musical composer, and he's
okay.
I know what you're going through there. Tell us about the collaboration process of creating and or adapting these plays for young audiences.
Okay. It really is a collaborative process. I met the main guy I work with. I've worked with a couple other composers, but I really connected with the guy named Terry Alaric Levitt. And we met by accident, a mutual friend, and somebody else was composing music for me, but he didn't want to write score. And so I said, well, I need somebody that can put it down in a score so somebody can play the show when we send it to Boston or, wherever. And he said, well, try Terry. He arranges my music for me. It turns out Terry is from the LA area and used to work for Disney and composing music for Disney. And he's so adept at composing music for kids that's interesting, but yet not so complicated that kids can't sing along, And so I started working with him. And the way we work is I write the book and I write the lyrics, and then I send them to Terry. And sometimes I have a song in my head when I write the lyrics. So I get a meter, or I get a rhythm or something like that, but I can't tell him what it is. And then I send it to Terry and I said, I think this would be good as a waltz, or I think this might be good as a calypso or something like that. And he's so versatile and he's so talented. He can just, oh, cool, and he'll write something down and then he'll say, I added a word here. Can you write a couple more words here? This needs another line. And he'll send it back to me. And then I'll change the lyrics. We go back and forth a little bit. And then finally we come up with the song.
So what would you say if we sent Michael to you guys and you guys come over and work with us at Jollyville Radio? How would they work?
I don't know. That was when I have to move to Texas because I sure like it up here.
No, we're going to send him to Washington.
Oh, okay.
Now, Pat, you've written over 30 plays and musicals for young audiences, and they've been produced by schools and professional theater companies across the U.S. And all of that, and you've put it into a podcast called Winking Cat Tales.
Right.
It's a behind the scenes rundown, if you will, of how that works and what's going on there.
Well, I like I said, I wrote over the last 20 years that we've been touring because it all came out of necessity, like a lot of things do. We had to put all the actors, all the costumes, and all the equipment into my Taurus station wagon when we would go to a gig, And so because we were limited by cast and we were limited by the amount of stuff we could take along, I wound up writing the shows so I could customize them for what we needed. And so we had this library. We usually wrote 2 to 3 shows per year. And we coordinated with the different library systems in their summer reading programs. They would give us a theme. Like say, the theme for our summer reading program this year is heroes. Do you have any stories about heroes? And I'd go and I'd look at research, existing stories and fables and things like that. And I came up with like Hercules, and I wrote a show about Hercules. Or they'd say, we need a STEM show. We need a show about mathematics. And so I wrote a show called The Day Zero Left Dodge, about what happens when Zero leaves town and you can't count past 9. So, we set it in the Old West, and there was the bad guy is Crazy 8, he's a twisted character. So anyway, so we take those, and over the last 20 years, I've written 30 plays.
That sounds incredible. I'm sorry, but that's fascinating. The Day Zero Left Town.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to find that one. That seems, that's exciting.
Yeah.
But, so you cater to schools, young audiences, places where young people go, and you're saying that we're working on math or whatever, and you write a play for that. Is that your only inspiration, or what else inspires you to write these tales?
I love stories. I love storytelling. I've been an actor all my life too, so the idea of telling stories has always been fun for me. And like I said, I like to look at stories from all around the world and see how each culture affects a story. Like, for example, I wrote a version of Cinderella it was commissioned by a local community theater or professional theater. And they wanted Cinderella. And I'd been in Into the Woods, actually. I played Jack of the Beanstalk's mom. And so I know the grim version of Cinderella. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, the sisters get their eyes gouged out. It's not really a good thing. So I went and I looked, and there was an earlier version written by a French writer named Charles Perrault. And he was the one that actually wrote the first version of Cinderella, earlier than the Grimm brothers. And then I looked a little further and I found a Chinese version called Ye Shen. That's pretty much the same story. And I find it fascinating that each culture has these sort of stories, the same theme, maybe the same characters, but they all add their own little twist to it. Like Ye Shen has a golden slipper instead of a crystal slipper. And, it's not a fairy godmother, it's a talking fish. Yeah. So it's always fun for me. And I really enjoy reading old fairy tales and stuff like that and piecing things together and then researching the cultural aspects of it. And we try and add little language things for the kids so that they get a feel for, oh, this is how they say hello in Chinese, or this is how they say please in Russian. And so they get a little feel for that too. A lot of our audiences were Head Start centers too. So really young kids.
It's a great thing. You're bringing young people together around a central theme that is pervasive across the earth amongst all cultures. It's the same story.
Yeah, I like to look when I read a story. I like to really look at what are they saying? What's the main point of this story? Maybe one's about friendship, or one is about telling the truth, or one is about being fair. And then you look at that theme, and then you find the story that actually relates to that. And I ask myself, okay, why was this story told in this way to communicate that lesson? And then that's what I use as my goal, because I do change the stories a lot. Because we perform for very young kids, nobody's head gets chopped off, you have to be really careful. So I do rewrite them a lot. Then we add the music, of course, which changes the story, but I do try and keep the core.
What's the reaction that you get from the children?
Oh, awesome. I mean, that's what makes it all worth it. Sometimes I'm performing in it, but sometimes I'm the road manager, and so I get to stand either behind the curtain or I get to stand in the back of the audience after I introduce the show. And the kids are just a blast. There's one story we love to tell where we were doing Puss in Boots. And these are really little kids. These are 3, 4, 5-year-olds. And they're all sitting crisscross applesauce and watching the show. And it's the end of the story, and the hero of the story is on his knee proposing to the princess, and will you? And the actor was hysterical. He was great. He pretended to be flustered, and he couldn't say, will you, and one little girl just stood up and say, will you marry me already? And we laughed. I mean, it's all part of the game. They like being involved, and so we were laughing. And the teacher came up to me afterwards, and she said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I thought she was going to apologize, and I said, "No, it's fine. We love when the kids get excited like that." She said, "You don't understand. That little girl has not spoken a word since she started in school 3 months ago. I thought she was autistic." But she got so involved in the play, it was like this fantasy world for her, that she actually spoke. She said, I have to call her mom right away. She said, I was going to test her for being autistic. So, it's so neat when you perform for kids. There's such an accepting audience. They don't tolerate boredom in any way.
Right.
They will tell you right away, they'll sit back and yawn, my friend, when we perform, says it's like performing in front of an ocean because their bodies just undulate around. It can make you seasick. But when you ask them what happened, they know exactly what happened. They know every word. So it's really, it's interesting. It's fun. It's challenging in an odd way, but it's also very rewarding.
Well, Patricia, I think that, even during this interview, you've touched the inner child in me. I'm like that little girl. It's like I'm excited about the way I'm really about the connection of, the different cultures. And then you put your own spin on it. I mean, that's incredible. I applaud, all that you're doing. As a matter of fact, the people that you work with, these technicians, these artists that you collaborate with, at Jollyville Radio, we're proud of saying we work for free. Basically, yeah, we work for free.
Like a lot of artists do, right?
Right. So that's the question. How do you and the artists support yourselves? Is this more or less a labor of love, or do you get donations, or how does that work?
When my theater company, the touring theater company, is a nonprofit, and we get grants from wonderful people. We get some grants from the state of Washington. We get some grants from private organizations. And so that's what supports that. We also charge the libraries, who then in turn get grants to have us come in. So it's a nice little circle. But part of what we do, part of what my business partner and I that had the theater company decided to do, was produce as efficiently and as cost effectively as possible, which is why we transport in my car everywhere. But we do pay our actors. I mean, I'm an actor. I know what it's like to be expected to work for nothing. And so because we love it, we work for nothing. And it's like, no, we have to eat too. So we do pay our actors. And Winking Cat started when I started recording it. Obviously, we have to pay our studio engineer, and he's amazing. He loves what we do, so he gives us a little bit of a break sometimes. But we do pay him, and I pay my actors still, and that is my vanity project. Actually, at this point, we've been doing it since 2019, and we do about one story about every 6 weeks to 8 weeks. Partly because I pay off one and then we go in and we do another one. Part of it's an inheritance I got from my mom. So I thought, if anything, she'd want me to put it towards something I've always wanted to do.
I think she'd be very happy knowing what you do, making young people happy and making old people like me happy too. If you could, after the show, give Michael Crosser that same speech about, paying your actors, I'd really. Patricia, if we want to find Winking Cat books and Winking Cat Tales on the internet, where would we look?
Winking Cat Tales are each an individual website. Winking Cat Tales is just winkingcattales.com. It's spelled WINKING cat with a K. ATTALES.com. And because Winking Cat with a C was already taken. And then Winking Cat Books is basically my website for some of the plays I've published as books. And that's where schools get them and things like that. And they can order them through Winking Cat Books, which is same, Winking Cat with a K, BOOKS.com.
Patricia Haines-Ainsworth, thank you for joining us on Community Beat. It has been such a pleasure, and we wish you the best of the best.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you, sir.
This has been Jollyville Community Beat with UncleASAR, and dig this. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. Peace. That was great.
Good. You talk a lot. I'm sorry.
No, you did great. You're like Mother Goose. Full of stories, man.
Oh, God. Yeah, I got stories.
And now, a deleted scene from Season 1, Episode 114, titled Focus Group. Enjoy!
Last season on the Brothers Burfield.
If you're listening to this tape, it means I was murdered.
Grandma Burfield, no!
A story of deceit and sabotage.
Brother, there was something wrong with the tomatoes.
The new season brings a whole new series of twists and turns.
I've left a series of clues about the whereabouts of my research.
This just in. It seems that one of the Burfield brothers, heirs to the Malakoff bubble bath fortune, is in the hospital after allegedly ingesting questionable tomatoes.
But amidst uncertainty, one brother makes a vow.
I promise you, Grandma Burfield, I will discover the circumstances of your death.
Watch The Brothers Burfield on your local public broadcasting station every Thursday at 7, 8 Central.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being a part of our focus group today. What you just watched was the trailer for Season 2 of The Brothers Burfield. Why don't you go around the room, tell me your name and one feeling that describes your reaction?
Kitty Westlake, intrigued.
Anderson Millingsley, also intrigued.
Helen, I'm confused.
Josh Slowstone, bored.
Kitty, you said you were intrigued. Could you tell me more about that?
The Brothers Burfield is my all-time favorite soap opera. Every Thursday, I sit down, make myself a mint julep, and watch. I've just been dying to know what happened to Grandma Burfield.
So then you're interested in the mystery element?
Well, I suppose I am. I don't trust the brother with the beard. He's up to something.
Yeah, I think so too.
Josh, you said you were bored. Tell me more about that.
Well, nothing's gonna happen. Looks like one brother poisoned the other, but they didn't even get in a fight.
Well, that's why you use poison, silly boy, so you don't have to fight.
Wait, there was a fight?
No, there was not a fight sequence.
Definitely no fight sequence.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Well, I think the suspense made the perfect tension between those two brothers.
Those guys were brothers?
Also, the car should have exploded.
Yeah, that was a pretty lame wreck.
Why don't we discuss the scene with the tomatoes? Any initial thoughts?
Oh, it had me in tears.
Me too.
Tears of boredom, more like.
Quiet, you puppy. Pipe down.
Does somebody need a tissue?
Well, that's okay to have different opinions. What do you think would have made the scene better?
Watermelons would have made for a more exciting splat.
Were you even watching? Grandma Burfield has a tomato farm. She hasn't grown watermelons since Grandpa Burfield died.
Ooh, tomato and watermelon are fantastic with a little bit of olive oil and balsamic.
Ooh, that sounds lovely.
If you all had to guess what happened to Grandma Burfield, what do you think it would be?
Murder. I say murder.
Yeah.
Alien abduction.
Bunions?
Lightning explosion.
Poisoned by the gardener.
FBI shootout.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Faked her own death.
Hey, who ate all the snacks?
Axe murderer.
That would be very off-tone for this show.
Wait, an axe murderer ate the snacks?
Eaten by a lion.
What? That's just plumb foolishness.
Dissolved in acid. Driven off a cliff. Kidnapped by international drug traffickers for ransom.
Okay, you do know that this is a public broadcast soap opera, right?
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be.
When do we talk about Robert Cheerful?
That's the next focus group. Okay, well, this has been very helpful and informative. Thank you all for your input on the Brothers Burfield.
Everybody say Jollyville at radio, and you can Google the show. Check out the website, definitely make it funky, y'all. JOLLYVILLE. Funny skits and jokes in every episode wraps up with community B. One more time, say JOLLYVILLE at radio, and you can Google the show.
These episodes of Jollyville Radio were created by UncleASAR Alkebalan, Emily Ansonek, Michael Crosa, Michelle Darcy, Jamie Davis, Richard Dayries, Ryan Green, Pilar Cap, Robert Leary, Thomas Schlitt, J.B. Skurlock, Matt Waite, and Kay Wise-Denti.
Special thanks to Bob Don of Bob's Short Story Hour and Hidden Oaks Podcast, and Antonio Delgado of the band O Antonio and his Imaginary Friends.
Direction and music by Michael the Maestro Crosa, with editing help by Richard Dayries, Jamie Davis, and Dr. Monsi Santillan. Social media help from Emily Ansonek. This recording was made in accordance with social distancing.
Jollyville Radio is a product of Jollyville Brass Quintet, member of Austin Creative Alliance and the Pizza Rice Podcasting Collaborative. We are based in Austin, Texas.
If you're enjoying Jollyville Radio, consider supporting us with a monthly pledge. You can get fun prizes depending on your donation level. Just go to patreon.com/Jollyville Radio. You can also support Jollyville in other ways, like buying a sticker from our website, leaving a review or comment on your podcast platform of your choice, or by sharing Jollyville Radio with a friend.
The credits were read by the writers of episodes 226 through 228. They are UncleASAR Cabelon, Emily Ansneck, Michael Crosa, Bob Don, Brian Green, Pilar Kep, and K.Y. Denti.
We'll see you next time on Jollyville Radio.